The Night Ferryman of Quiet Waves, a gentle 30-minute sleep story for adults. If the tide of thoughts keeps hitting the breakwater of your pillow, let them soften now. Lower your screen to the glow of one candle at the edge of the sea. Breathe through a slow count of 4, and let the count sail away on a miniature boat. We have 30 quiet minutes ahead, and Ro will ferry us across waves that tune themselves to the rhythm of your pulse. Ready? The horizon turns its volume down. You step onto a wooden dock that smells of salt and distant pine. The planks are damp, but the damp is mild, as if the night wrapped them in a cool wool sock. A single lantern flickers at the far end, throwing gold on the water. Retrieving it, throwing it again. Each throw is softer, like a lullaby learning its own chorus. Ro waits beside a small white boat, no engine, no sail, only oars that breathe in their cradles. His beard is the color of weathered rope, his coat the color of fog that has decided to stay. He lifts a finger to his lips, not for silence, but for gentleness. You step aboard. The boat accepts your weight the way a pocket accepts a pebble. From a canvas bag, he draws an old silver tuning hammer, the kind once used to coax pianos into kindness. He kneels, places the hammer against the hull, and listens. The sea taps back too loud, too proud. He frowns the way one frowns at a child who has sung off-key, but may yet find the note. With a tiny metal file he saws at the air above the wave, not the wave itself. You do not understand, yet the crest lowers, embarrassed, settles into a 12-second loop that repeats like a mother's heartbeat. Ro nods, satisfied. He whispers so low, it might be the dock breathing. Noise only roars when it is afraid of being unheard. You sit on the thwart, hands in your lap, feeling the boat sway like a cradle that knows the exact length of your spine. He records the loop on a miniature reel-to-reel, the tape turning at 19 centimeters per second. The speed of forgiveness. Every fourth loop he allows the faintest hint of kettle steam to brush the membrane. White noise shaped like a spiral. Refrain slips in, gentle, repetitive. You hear the waves, and that is enough. The words do not instruct. They describe what is already happening. A bell from the harbor clock strikes 12, each chime slower than the last, as if time itself is being tuned. Ro catches the 10th chime, lowers it a whole step, releases it back to the night. The 11th and 12th follow, softer, softer, until they lie on the water like 3 petals that have forgotten how to sink. The duck behind you dims, the gold lantern turns its flame to ember. You feel the ember settle on your eyelids, warm but not burning. A nightlight for the inside of your skull. Ro lifts the oars. They drip once, twice, 3 times. Each drip is caught by the tape, stretched to twice its length, half its height, then tucked beneath the next wave. The boat moves away from the dock the way a thought drifts from the front of your mind to the back, without urgency, without goodbye. The harbor lights recede, becoming a necklace someone decided not to wear. You breathe with the oars, lift, drift, lower, rest, somewhere inside the rhythm. Tomorrow's worries loosen their laces. The chapter ends not with a word, but with the space after a word, where breath continues. The sea opens like a book that has been read so often its spine is cracked and forgiving. Ro ships, the oars, they fall asleep in their cradles. From the floorboards he lifts the rib cage of a baby grand piano, long ago drowned, long ago dried, now smelling of salt cedar and moth wings. He sets it across the thwarts. The boat accepts the weight, the way memory accepts a childhood scent without comment, without struggle. He strikes middle C. The note wobbles, embarrassed. CAR has shortened the string by a hair's breadth. He turns the tuning pin, a 16th of a turn, listens, turns again. The note steadies, yawns, settles into itself like a cat discovering a square of sun. He moves up the scale, not fast, not slow. At the speed moss crosses stone. Each note he lowers by exactly 14 cents, the amount the human heart slows when it hears I am here. You are safe. You feel the lowering in your wrists, your ankles, the small muscles along your spine that have been holding tomorrow upright. Above the cabin roof the wind arrives, curious, rubbing its edges against the mast. Ro lifts a small wooden square, a sound baffle carved with tiny holes. He places it against the wind's path. The wind loses its whistle, becomes a hush that smells of distant pine and warmed pine cones. He records the hush on the same loop tape, overlays it onto the piano, creating a chord you cannot name but remember from before birth. Refrain returns, softer. You hear the waves, and that is enough. This time the waves are made of wood and wire and wind, yet they still rock. A gull passes overhead, crying in its sleep. Ro lifts the mic, catches the cry, lowers it to whole steps, lays it back into the chord like a mother laying a blanket on a child who is almost asleep. The gull does not notice, it dreams on, gliding. You feel the lowered cry settle behind your eyes, a warmth that loosens the knot of unshed tears you did not know you carried. He strikes the final key, not hard, not soft. At the weight of a finger resting on a page, the note leaves the string, crosses the cabin, lands on your collarbone, and stays. He closes the piano lid. The lid sighs, content to hold its newly quiet thunder. The boat drifts on, steered by the breath of the tuned wind. No oars needed. You sit inside the chord, not listening, not ignoring, simply being the hollow where sound decides to rest. The chapter ends when the chord decides it has been long enough, and the chord is never in a hurry. The sea deepens to a color that has no name, a blue-black washed with silver like old denim, rubbed with candle wax. Ro lowers a hydrophone into the water. The boat stills itself, respectful. From the depths rise sounds not meant for human ears, the click of shrimp, the slow drum of a freighter passing miles away, the sigh of sand shifting. He records them, not to keep, but to understand their tempo. He lifts the hydrophone, dries it on a towel that was once white, now the color of forgetting. From a tin box he removes fragments. A broken cassette labeled Laughter 1998, a cracked mini disc of voicemail messages, a reel of audience applause that once belonged to a failed theater. He threads them onto a second tape machine, side by side, not overlapping, like strangers on a bench who will become friends by simply sharing the same dusk. He shortens the laughter into single exhales, spaces them every 11 seconds. The average time between waves on a calm night. He lowers the voicemail voices by 7 semitones, turns them into hums that might be your own thoughts when you are half asleep. He trims the applause until only one pair of hands remains, clapping slowly, softly, as if to say, "Go on, rest, I am still here." He overlays the hydrophone lullaby beneath the voices. They accept the cradle, they rock. Refrain returns. Inside your pulse, you hear the waves. And that is enough. The waves now carry human memory, but the memory has been washed until it is smooth as beach glass, cool as a cheek against pillow. You feel the single pair of hands clapping inside your chest, not urging performance, only keeping time with your heart. Ro watches, not with pride, but with recognition, as if he too has been applauded into stillness. A pod of dolphins passes, their sonar clicking like distant typewriters, writing a letter you will never need to answer. He records 3 clicks, no more, stretches them to 10 times their length, lays them under the laughter exhales. The clicks become heartbeats, the heartbeats become waves, the waves become breath. You do not see the dolphins, you hear their distance, and distance is friendly. The boat rocks, the garden of voices sways. Lavender and mint release, scent only when the tape reaches the quiet between tracks. You feel yourself being braided, wave, voice click, scent, until the braid is smooth enough to lay across the pillow of a child you once were. He lifts the tape, holds it to the sky as if asking permission. The sky grants by doing nothing, no wind, no cloud, only starlight that has traveled years to arrive this soft. He slips the tape into a cardboard sleeve, labeled for later listening. Volume, almost none. He hands it to you, not as gift, but as confirmation that what you heard was real enough to carry. Your fingers close around the cardboard. It is warm from friction, warm as skin that has decided not to be lonely. The chapter ends when the dolphins' clicks fade into the same darkness from which they came, leaving only their echo shaped like a cradle. The sky begins to lighten, not with dawn, but with the possibility of dawn. A gray blue that has not yet committed to color. Ro lifts the oars. They drip once, twice, 3 times, slower than before, as if water itself is drowsy. He turns the boat toward the harbor, but not in straight line, a curve, a loop, a figure eight that says almost home. Almost, not quite. You feel the figure eight in your chest, a gentle nodding and unnodding that tells time to wait. From his coat he draws a final tape, a recording of last winter's storm. Waves taller than the lighthouse, wind screaming like a kettle that has forgotten it owns a whistle. He plays it now, not loudly, not softly, at the volume of a neighbor's television through a wall, present but not demanding. The storm enters the boat, sits in the prow, wraps its gray raincoat around its knees. You tense, but Ro places a hand on your sleeve, the weight of a finger resting on a page. He lets the storm play for 30 seconds, no more, then lowers the fader until the tempest becomes a sigh that remembers being a shout. He explains without words. Quiet is not the absence of storm, but storm disciplined into breathing. You feel the distant lightning settle behind your eyes, a flicker that chooses not to flash, only to warm. He loops the sigh storm beneath the earlier tape of lullaby waves, creating a braid of calm and almost calm. The way life holds both hand in hand. Refrain returns, inside your pulse, softer than before. You hear the waves, and that is enough. The waves now carry both peace and memory of peace breaking, woven so tight they cannot pull apart. You understand you will carry this braid into sleep, and if you wake at 3 a.m., you will find the braid still beneath your tongue, taste of salt and safety. The harbor lantern appears, still, ember low, but nearer. Ro ships the oars, the boat glides on momentum, the way a sentence drifts to its final period without hurry. He lifts the hydrophone once more, drops it into the water, records the sound of the boat arriving, the sound of the boat leaving, both at once. He layers the arriving beneath the leaving, creating a hinge that opens onto nowhere and everywhere. You feel the hinge inside your wrist, a gentle click that tells you it is acceptable to stay, acceptable to go. He takes the tape labeled blanket, places it in your pocket, pats the pocket once, the way a mother pats a child who has almost fallen asleep in a car seat. The storm sigh fades to zero, not suddenly, but like a candle that has consumed its own intention. The harbor is near now. You can smell rope and pine and morning coffee that has not yet been brewed, only promised. Ro turns to you, smiles the way one smiles at a dream that has agreed to be remembered only in fragments, gentle, without demand. He whispers so low it might be the water speaking through him. Leave the storm where it is. It too needs rest. You nod, slowly, as if moving through honey that has decided not to stick. The boat kisses the dock. The kiss is soft. Wood against wood. No creak, only acceptance. You step out. The dock accepts your weight the way a pocket accepts the removal of a pebble without comment, without loss. Behind you the boat rocks once, twice, then stills, like a cradle that has done its job and will wait for night to come again. You walk the planks, each plank exhales, releasing the night it has stored. The lantern at the far end has gone out, but you do not need it. You carry ember beneath your ribs, placed there by oars and waves and intentional storm. The chapter ends when your foot touches land and the land says she, I have you, and you believe. Quiet is not the denial of waves. It is the art of letting them pass through you without pulling you under. If tomorrow's tide returns with louder teeth, unwrap the tape of intentional storm. Play it low. Remember it chose to become breath. You already know the refrain. It lives in the hollow beneath your tongue. You hear the waves. And that is enough. Good night. Let the tide count your heartbeats until you lose count and the losing becomes a lullaby.